Good morning, this is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Thursday, the 17th of April. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. Right. Okay, tomorrow is a holiday, right? I think so. Yeah, it's so we've got historical stats are basically saying that we've got a neutral day today-ish, and obviously we are coming. Hang on a second. Right, let's have a look at the stats for today and Monday. Tomorrow the market is closed. Today is basically OPEC. We've got 52% stats historically closing green, a bit weaker on NASDAQ, which is 38, but basically generally going to be fairly flat, which is something you generally see just before a holiday. Flat to bullish. The day after Easter is the second worst post-holiday in the year, but it still leans marginally bullish. We've got bullish days, strongly bullish days on Tuesday and Thursday next week. Tuesday and Wednesday, and then basically flat Thursday and Friday. So we'll see how that goes. But I have to say we're ending the best 6 months of the year at the moment. So if we are going to see more decline, it would be logical for that to start in May. I'm still liking the rally continuing into next week, maybe the week after, and frankly, I'd like it to continue for a clear month afterwards. But I am wondering about the news flow here, the tariffs being considered and looked at on pharmaceuticals, on electronics. These are concerns, and if large new tariffs start being announced, then things could get very fragile. Also, the trade war with China is not going well. That is going to impact inflation. The Fed was saying that yesterday, and I agree. So, I mean, the joke, one joke that's been going around is that the dollar shops are turning into $10 shops. So I think that's a little harsh. They might be turning into $4 shops, but nonetheless, it's prices are going to be going up to the consumer, and they're going to be going up significantly, and they're going to be going up soon. Now, in many cases. All right, so let's have a look at how that looks on equities. Now, yesterday, I was talking about I was saying that we've got these 15-minute sell signals, that I'd like to see these play out because these look unresolved, and that actually it would be better from a chart point of view if we saw a decline here. I was talking about a possible low at the week to pivot area, and we saw a low at the week to pivot. That could hold, and I'm wondering about that. We don't have much in the way of positive divergence, so that's a maybe. And would the charts benefit from going a bit lower? Yes, I think they probably would. And I'll show you what my ideal setup would be here. But it doesn't mean we're going to get below the weekly pivot here. That may well hold. The day before a holiday tends to be unexciting, as does the day afterwards generally. So we will see how that goes. On NQ, we saw a test of the daily middle band as well. Do these look like bull flags from these highs? Yeah, they do. So NQ very much so as well. Now, what I would like to see here, and I'll be talking about this, is ideally this would be a B, C, but we need to drop another 120, 130 handles. I don't know. Might need some bad news for that. But I'll show you why that would be a good thing on the charts for what I'm expecting to see, because I'm not really expecting this rally to last more than 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe. I think there'll be too much bad news coming out. So I'll show you how I would like that to develop and what would give us the ideal short entries if we would do that. It's just the market doesn't take requests. I've said this often enough, but this is what I'd like to happen, and quite often it is what would happen. RTY, haven't seen quite as much downside, but we've tested the weekly pivot as well. YM, this is actually accelerating to the downside, partially because of Boeing, I think. The Chinese have cancelled $40 billion of Boeing purchases, and those probably aren't coming back. So that's affecting the Dow. So we're slightly below or at the weekly pivot movement there, and I'm thinking that might follow through lightly to the downside today, although I'm not expecting to see a really big decline. DAX, we haven't really come much off the high here. ESTX, we haven't come much off the high either. But actually, in terms of trend lines, we really need the same kind of decline. What I'm looking at on the decline is mainly the SPX charts. Let's have a look at that now. All right. Okay, we've got these overall megaphones. I don't know how seriously to take these. These aren't long-term patterns, and the reason they aren't long-term patterns is because the distance between these two trend lines is growing so rapidly. These are patterns that cannot last long. Either we will fail to make a clean hit of the resistance here, or we'll fail to get a clean hit on the low. Really, one or the other. I wouldn't expect this pattern may not last any longer than it has already, and if it does continue, then the time it continues will be limited. And the same applies on Dia and on the Qs chart. Okay, in terms of the 15-minute sell signals I was looking at yesterday morning, these all made target, but we don't have, you'll note, any positive divergence here. We do have a bit on the RSI 5. We've got a little RSI 5 buy signal which fixed here, but this will probably make target at the open today, so I'm not looking at it seriously. If we are going to get 15-minute buy signals, we're going to need to see these lows retested. And in any case, depending on where we open, we might find that it goes over the 50 level, and that rules out getting a signal in any case. Where would I like to see this go? I would like to see it hit this trend line. And the reason is that in terms of if we are doing an ABC correction flag, which is what I would love to see here, this would be A. This would then be B. I wouldn't like B to be here, but it could be, but we're not going to get any good trend lines or patterns out of it. Ideally, we come down a bit further, we hit this trend line here, this would be down another 80 handles would do it on SPX. And then we would do a C wave up here, and that could give us a lovely flag. A really nice one. Set up some negative divergence to the highs, and we have an ideal short entry for a retest of the low or another leg down starting. On the Qs, the same, very much. I'd draw the trend line up through here. Ideally, it would hit it on Dia. On the Qs, that trend line would currently be, why speculate? I'll draw it. Oh, sorry, wait a second. So I suggest that sometimes we don't always get nice pattern setups, but we often do. And if we're going to get one here, this is what it would do. And again, this would actually be closer than the one on SPX. It wouldn't require as much of a decline. We did most of the work yesterday, so we'll see how that goes. But ideally, we'd get down to here, and I've got that in about the 431 area. Obviously, we made the sell signal target again, and we don't have positive divergence again. Pretty much the same across the board. Dia, we made the target, no positive divergence here, apart from obviously a little RSI 5 buy signal on the 15-minute. Again, I've got an ideal target here, so let's have a look at that. Now, I'm not saying these targets will be made. I'm just saying that if we are going to get decent patterns forming here, this would really help a lot. So as it is, there's always other things I can find on the charts, but this is the obvious way to do it if we are going to do it. And here, I'd be looking ideally, and we've done some of this work overnight, of course. I'd be looking ideally for a target at this trend line here, which is currently in the 384 area. So we'll see how that goes today. That's more of a wish list than an expectation, but nonetheless, it's an educated wish list. And we could see that. Could we see bad news enough to send us straight back into a retest of the lows? Yeah, we could. So there's a lot of news coming out here, and it's all pretty random. I think there is an awareness that they don't want to spook the markets too much, but nonetheless, Trump's very, very keen on tariffs, and he hasn't finished, and he's been very, very clear about that. So I'm expecting to see more, and some of that is going to have a significant impact. Pharmaceutical tariffs, that could have a big impact. China trade war, well, I think we're really at a stage where, I mean, they could put the tariffs up. They could put the tariffs up on both sides to 1,000% now, and it probably wouldn't affect the level of trade much, because as Xi observed when he put up his tariffs to 124%, it's not going to actually make much difference from now, because in fact, trade has stopped. So we'll see. All right, looking at the IWM chart, we actually got a little bit of positive here. It's not a great deal. I'm not really taking a great deal of notice of it. I'm not looking for the same kind of patterns here because overall IWM isn't in the same position. But I am looking for resistance up here, maybe in the 196 area, and I'm looking potentially at the daily middle band as resistance. We'll see whether or not it's got a shot at getting there. But if we can go down a little more first on the other indices, then our chances of getting proper tests and making a decent pattern from the low improve considerably. Looking at DAX, we've got nice looking little rally here. We've been paused, but I'm leaning towards seeing a test of the daily middle band at least. That, of course, is coming down pretty fast and is now in the 21,674 area. On Nikkei, we've got a move up towards the daily middle band. Again, all of these daily middle bands are coming down pretty rapidly, and that's now in the 35,273 area. All right, let's have a look at the dollar. The dollar, this has been kicking around, making what looks like a triangle or a bear flag. I'm expecting this to resolve into a retest this low. I'd like to see a sizable dollar rally from there, and we could get an opportunity to do that if we do get another leg up on this equities rally, which I'm thinking we well might, subject to news. Could we get as high as this trend line here? I'm a little doubtful about that, but if we did see a sustained break up to over a 100.5, then that would have a target in about the 102.1 area. So we could well see that. Looking at ZB, ZB actually, there's been a lot of talk about bond yields are still going up, and actually no, they've been quite a decent rally. I was calling it last week, looking at the TNX chart, because on the hourly chart we had a sell signal brewing. That's now much of the way to target. We have, obviously this large spike up has not been reversed, but nonetheless, quite a lot of it's gone. And I'm expecting to see like a 50 back, maybe get down to 42 here before, in all probability, it's going to go higher, because in terms of the patterns here, this was a nice looking head and shoulders. It broke down and it failed. That's got a target at a retest this high here at 48.09, and chances are we're on the way back to this overall bullish consolidation target at a retest of 49.97, and the inflection point there is what I'm writing about in this first point today. This first post I'm going to be publishing this afternoon. All right, let's have a look at CL. CL has broken up from the IHS, and that's got a target in about the 70.7 area. Now, I'm quite liking that as a pattern. It's really a very nice pattern. I am wondering whether it's got the juice for it. It's going to be helped if we get the rest of the rally on equities that I'm expecting to see. If we see a hard fail on equities at any point, the chances are this is going to go down with it. NG, I'm liking the bull side on here. It's still trickling down slightly, but we're respecting this support trend line. So far, we've got a week 60-minute buy signal fixed, and we've got nice looking little short-term double bottom. I'm expecting to see some upside here, but again, if we get some really bad tariff news, then that may be given up, because there is a lot of economic activity baked into the energy prices. GC still going up nicely, still not seeing really much reason for this to end. Honestly, I'm thinking if we do see a crisis on bonds, we could see this head up to 4,000 or 5,000. We could see gold being a big beneficiary, and I think we're already seeing it being a beneficiary of a move, a loss of confidence in US Treasuries. I think that's the main reason we've been seeing this move up from here. And as I'll be saying on these posts over today and Saturday, in all probability, then I'm thinking that could have a long way to run. We might just be getting started. SI, again, would probably benefit, although this is more of an industrial metal. HG is very much an industrial metal and would not benefit from something which would imply strongly a reduction in economic activity. On the bigger picture, I've got a double top here, and we may well be starting to break down from that. All right, let's have a look. Not much to see on the currencies today. KC broke up from this IHS. We've got three resistance levels I'm watching here. The first is monthly pivot at the 383.25. The second is declining resistance in about the 389 area, and the third is the IHS target, which I've got in about the 398 area. Waiting, likely to make at least one of those. No current sign of divergence. SB, we're at a huge inflection point on SB here, and it could break down hard. This is making me wary. We don't have a decent looking double bottom setup. We don't have any positive divergence here. I'm wary about this, and I'm concerned this may go down a lot from here. CC still got a nice looking double bottom, still hasn't done anything with it. Wheat, this still looks like a bear flag forming. Corn, we've got nice looking double bottom that is broken up with a target in the 513 area. Soy, I'm very, very suspicious of this rally. Something like half of all soy made in the US goes to China, and none of that's going at the moment. Furthermore, the Chinese are talking about replacing all of that from Europe and Brazil. So maybe that even if the trade war ends, that those orders aren't coming back. Furthermore, depending on how things go with the Europeans are talking about restricting US exports of soy, which apparently for some reason they take quite a lot of. I'm not quite sure why that is. But that also could affect the market. I'm leaning down on soy. I'm not really seeing much reason to be cheerful on this chart. CT, keeping an open mind. Really, I think the next obvious target would be down. So lumber, nice looking double bottom here, but on the bigger picture, we've got a nice looking double top that's broken down and hasn't made target yet. I'm leaning towards the downside here. Again, this is very sensitive to economic activity. Live cattle, we had a double top, broke down, made target. We've now got an IHS that's broken up. That hasn't made target yet, but if it does, I've got a target there in about the 207 area, and ideally it gets back into about the 208 area and a retest of this high. On lean hogs, this is over the monthly pivot and showing no signs of stopping, no negative diversions. I'm leaning towards seeing a retest of this high here just under 100 next. So we'll see how that goes. All right, let's have a look at questions. Okay, palladium. Palladium, I'm going to be doing, I'm working up a load more charts here because I've just lost practically all of my futures charts that I tracked on the dailies on stock charts have now gone. And actually the last lot went yesterday, which were copper, CL, and soy. So now they're only, of all the ones I was doing, which used to be about 20, they're now just doing a yes. I'm going to be working up on all of these. I've done it on most of the soft commodities as well so far, and I'm working up basically the weekly and monthly charts on this. On palladium and platinum, I haven't got a lot to say at the moment, but I'm going to have more once I've worked up those charts, which I'll be doing over the next couple of weeks. In the short term, hang on, wait a second. Bear with me a moment. In the short term, I'll have a look for you. And this is what I will be doing. On the daily chart, well, I'm going to be doing the weekly chart, so I'm going to be looking back an awful lot further. I haven't done that yet. In terms of the daily chart, I'm still leaning towards seeing a retest this low here at 808. And at some stage, I'm thinking that, and I think that time may be soon, I think we might catch a big wave. And I think I'm going to be talking about this in my post about alternatives to the US dollar as reserve currencies, but one of those is precious metals. And the precious metals most likely to benefit are palladium, platinum, and most of all gold. Silver, I think, will have some benefit as well, but basically across all asset classes, which are basically expensive, heavy things that you can hold and have high value, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of movement. But actually, if we're going to do that, I would love to see a retest this low here at 808. It's not strictly necessary, and actually, it's an okay double bottom here too. We've got, if we had a sustained break up over 1248, then that would already have a target, which would be in about the 1700 area. And I'm thinking we may well see that happen over the next year or two. And I really like the setup here because actually I think the chances of having a serious bonds crisis in the next few months to a year at the moment look very high. That bonds crisis will likely benefit all the precious metals. It's likely to benefit crypto, I think, although less certainly than the others. And it'll benefit the other currencies that are still used as reserve currencies against the US at the moment. It'll benefit the euro, it'll benefit the pound, it'll benefit the yen, it'll benefit the Swiss franc, but really it'll benefit metals. And if people are starting to look at things which aren't actually currencies to hold assets in long term, it's hard to see how palladium and platinum won't benefit. All right, great. In that case, I think that's a wrap, guys. I better move on to my crypto webinar. So everyone have a wonderful holiday weekend, and I will catch you again on Monday. In the meantime, look out for the posts. I'll probably have one out on equities today. I'll definitely have one out on bonds today. That is mostly written. All right, catch you later.